for you today. Welcome to Lunch Break, Sales Nation. Absolutely great. So we should be live on YouTube right now, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on TikTok. Perfect. So how's everyone? How's everyone today? How's your lunch break going? Leave a comment below. How are you doing today? Are you ready for some B2B sales? I am. I've got a topic for you. I think we're going to have a lot of haters and lovers at the same time. So we'll figure that out. So let me just see the chat. If you're on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on YouTube, type in a comment so that I know that your comments are coming in. Hi, Molly May. Hi. I don't know how to pronounce that. Husnain Shah. We're live on LinkedIn. Perfect topic today, Sales Nation. Sales script, yes or no? Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So that's it. Do we use a sales script? Yes or no? So do me a favor, when you join in, just give us a follow and you'll be notified next time when we go live. Hi, Jacob. Thank you very much for joining here on TikTok. So that's the topic today. Can utilizing a sales script increase your closing rate? Should you use a sales script or should you just wing it? Should you just be very spontaneous and pick up the phone or get into a conversation without being prepared, without having a sales script? So that's the topic today. The first question that I have for you, everybody joining, how many of you are using a sales script? If you use a sales script, comment below yes, right? Drop a comment below with yes, so I know how many of you are using a sales script. And the topic for today is really to get into the nitty-gritty of it. To be quite honest with you, I am an advocate of using sales scripts, not as kind of a robotic kind of thing, but as a guideline. And I'm going to show you how we use a sales script with the probing sales framework, and also how our customers integrate that into their sales force, into their daily sales. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining on TikTok. Really appreciate that. Is that D-Ross Debris or Dross Debris? Hi, Claude. Awesome. If you use a sales script, just drop a comment below. And let me just adjust that here. So I hope you can see me. Perfect. So I've started in sales like 25 years ago, and there's always kind of the pros and cons that were discussed of using a sales script. And when we use a sales script, of course, we don't want to sound robotic. We just want to be flexible and spontaneous during our sales calls. And we want to be able to listen to a prospect and not just, look for the next question, in panic. And the thing is that all of that can be accomplished with the right sales script. And I'm going to ask you to think of a sales script more like a treasure map, which leads you from A to Z and helps you lead your prospect from A to Z, and Z ultimately being the close. So when I started out in sales, that was like 25 years ago, I had absolutely nothing. It was just like, jump into the fire or being thrown into cold water and let loose on the leads. It was kind of fun, but not very productive because nobody really told me what to do. Which is fair enough. It's like, sometimes it's good. But I wasn't very productive. So then I started to design my own sales script from the information that was available to me. So I just read a lot of books, listened to a lot of people and mentors, and just try to figure out how I can design a guideline for myself to be more confident in the sales calls, to have a roadmap, a visual pathway of how I would want the prospect to go through the questions and to lead them where I needed them to be, ultimately the close. So, but then nobody really showed me anything when I started in sales. And after I designed my own sales script, and I became more confident on the calls, then it started to get better. And that was 25 years ago. So if you are, hi 2120, thanks for joining. Jaden Wilkinson 5, thanks for joining. Who else do we have? Hi Ellie, thanks for joining. So the question still is, if you are using a sales script, is it yours or did you get it from your manager? If you're in a sales position, if you're an SDR or BDR or a sales rep in general, and if you are using a sales script, is it yours or did you get it from your manager? So drop me a comment below. Just say it's mine or I was given by the manager. So let me just see where we are right now. Thanks for joining, everyone. Make sure to follow our account. Make sure to connect with me on LinkedIn. I want to hear from you after the call. Thanks, Crab Customs. Thanks, Funfair. Thanks for joining. Be sure to follow us. Are you using sales scripts? That's the question today. Sales scripts, yes or no? So, what's actually the benefit of using a sales script? You might have figured out by now that I'm an advocate of sales scripts if they are done in a good way. If you just read from it, then that's crap. Okay, so we don't want to do that. But what's the benefit of using a sales script? Well, number one, it gives you a lot of confidence in your sales call because you have a guideline, right? You don't have to wing it. You know exactly where you are. You know exactly where to start and where to end, ideally, and everything in between. Hi, Melody Necklace. Thanks for joining. Number two, the structure helps you to lead the conversation. And with the confidence that you get, you are putting yourself in a position to lead the conversation and not just be reactive to what your prospect or your lead says, but to really lead the conversation, to guide them, right? Take them by the hand and say, okay, we're going here, and then we're going there, and then we're going there. Having a sales script, a guideline, helps you do that, right? Number three, flexibility to navigate the conversation. What I just said, you know exactly where you are right now and where you need to go, what the next step needs to be in order to get that prospect to where you want them to be. Ultimately, the close on the sale or the close on the next step. And it also gives you the freedom to listen actively to what your prospect has to say. And just recently, we asked C-level executives what sales reps could be doing to increase the chances of winning their business. And on top of their list was what a clear answer: listen. Sales reps need to listen to what prospects have to say in order to close and win more business. That's absolutely fabulous. So having a sales script, having a guideline helps us to actively listen more and better because we don't have to think about the next question. We can really sit down and relax because we know what we need to ask next, right? And ultimately, we have a visual pathway through our sales call. You have a pathway, a visualized pathway where you are, where you need to go, and how you get there with your prospect to ultimately get to the close. Thomas Collins, thanks for joining. Thank you so much. This week I read an interesting fact and stats that was released by Gong. Sales reps who ask at least 11 questions in their calls can increase their likelihood of closing. And now I'm going to ask you, make an educated guess. What is the percentage? You ask 11 questions and you can increase the likelihood of closing by what percentage? Type it in the comments. Just make an educated guess. So sales reps who ask at least 11 questions in their calls can increase their likelihood of closing by X percentage. Drop it in the comments. I'm gonna let you know in a second. Let's just let the comments come in. Thank you for the likes, Ellie. Awesome. Thanks so much. Fabulous. Ellie says 40%. That's close, but not close enough. Right. Sales reps who ask at least 11 questions in their calls can increase their likelihood of closing by 73%. 73%. And how many sales reps do you know that ask 11 questions? How many questions do you ask on average in your sales calls, in your discovery calls, in your demos? How many questions do you ask? Is it 11? Is it maybe 5? I don't know. Drop me a comment below. I really would like to know that. But matter of fact is, not many sales reps ask 11 questions or more. At least not without a guideline, not without a sales script, not without a treasure map, if we want to call it that. So how many questions do you ask in your sales calls? Is it 11? Is it more? Is it less? So we just heard that if you ask 11 or more questions in your sales calls, you can increase the likelihood of closing by roughly 73%. And that number was published by Gong. You might have heard of Gong. So your job in sales is really not to sell. Our job is to make it as easy as possible for our buyers to buy from us instead of our competitors. And our job is to eliminate the friction in the whole process and to add convenience to the buying process. And how we do that is we need to understand the buy journey, but we also need to have a pathway that shows us how we can maneuver our buyer easily to where we need them to be, and ultimately to where they need to be in order to purchase from us. We just have a comment here asking, better questions is the key to close more deals. Yeah, absolutely. You need to know what to ask, how to ask it, and when to ask it. Hi, Dean. Is that Dino or Dean? Thanks for joining. And so I'm going to show here, I have that on LinkedIn, but I'm going to show you something that we designed in the probing sales framework. So we have here, let me just pull that up. Hope you can see that. You should see that. So that's the conversation wheel that we have developed. Let me just hide that, and you should see it better. That's a conversation wheel that we have developed. It consists of 6 elements that you should cover in every discovery call, in every demo. And each of these elements should have at least 1 or 2 questions, alternative questions, how you can provoke critical thinking in your buyer, because that's what it's all about, right? We need to dig into the pain points. We need to dig into the need. We need to dig into how they buy, how they need to buy, who the budget holder is, and so on. So different elements that we need to tackle. And it's so easy to forget when you're in the call. It's so easy to forget one element. And then you hang up and say, I should have asked this. I didn't ask that. So I need to call again. Anyway, so we have 6 elements, and 6 elements are the situation, what's going on in their life, in their business right now. Then stuff like motivation, the aspiration, what do they want to achieve, change prevention factors, change facilitating factors, the selection, and then the consent creation. So all of these things put together, these 6 elements, into a sales script, with each element having 1 or 2 questions, alternative questions, so that you get a better understanding of what your prospect is all about, what their need is, what their pain is, what their challenge is, and how you can solve these challenges. And ultimately also convince them that, you do in fact solve their issues. And If you go further here, all of that is basically built on the buy journey, on the buying stages of where the buyer is at. And then, so put all of that together into a sales script, and it looks a little bit like that. So I'm sorry for the TikToks. I'm gonna post that sales script later on today, so you have it. So I'm going to talk you through that in one of the next videos. Let me just make me smaller here on that page, and that's how a sales script could look like. So we always start with the conversation wheel on top of the page. So as a reminder, all the boxes and all the elements that we need to raise, all the points that we need to raise. And then we have one or two questions, at least two questions, alternative questions in each element. And what that does is it gives us the flexibility to just relax and focus really on the call, on the conversation, but also to focus on what is being said, right? What the prospect says to us, what the prospect tells us in terms of their challenge, in terms of their needs, in terms of what's going on in their lives and in their business at the moment. And to have that as a guidance, that has turned out to be an absolute game changer for a lot of our clients, and also within our organization as well, because you don't have to think that much. You don't have to think about the next question. It's like, okay, well, what's the next question, and should I ask this or that? Have I asked this or that? I'm not quite sure, so let's just wing it. So winging it, you wouldn't go bungee jumping or something like that and wing it. You want to be prepared for the jump. You want to be prepared for the call. You want to be prepared for your prospect and understand what's going on. And in order to come across confident and knowledgeable and as an authority, you need preparation. And one of the things that we found really gives the whole sales conversation a boost and increase the closing rate is to have a sales script like that as a guideline. And then, of course, what we do with the probing sales framework, let me just go back here. What we do with the probing sales framework is to draft and design these questions very specifically. Sales questions have been around for decades now, almost centuries. And it's always the same questions. It doesn't really provoke critical thinking in your prospect, in your buyer. But that's what we want. We want to provoke thoughts. We want to ask a question and have them react to something like, wow, nobody ever asked me that. Wow, now that you asked me that, I really have to think about that. And so the way you phrase your sales questions in your sales conversation, that is absolutely critical to stand out from your competition, to stand out from all the other salespeople and sales organizations that call and just simply ask the same old questions over and over again. And I have the feeling when I started out, my discovery calls, I sounded like Inspector Columbo. Those of you who are old enough might remember Inspector Columbo. It was more like an interrogation or an investigation. And so that wasn't good. That definitely wasn't good. But the more I became relaxed by having something like a sales script, by knowing, okay, I need to check these boxes, not because of vanity, not because of being selfish and I want to sell it. No, because when you go through the conversational wheel, you actually help the buyer buy. You help the buyer become clear in what it is that they want, what it is that they need. And also you guide them through their own purchasing process, which is absolutely crucial. Most sales reps don't do that. Most salespeople don't do that. They are so focused on their own sales cycle that they forget the buy cycle, that they forget that ultimately it's the buyer that makes a decision. It's never the salesperson who sells something. It's the buyer who makes a decision to buy from you. And we want to facilitate exactly that decision, right? So we want to facilitate the purchase decision to buy from you or from us, but on the buyer's terms, right? And we can do that. We can bring all of that together and increase the closing rate because we care about the buyer. We care more about the buyer than our KPIs. And as soon as you switch that, mindset and that thought process, you will see that it opens up a lot more opportunities and possibilities. Now, that doesn't mean that we are like, we're not a fucking charity. Am I allowed to swear on a live stream? I don't know. I hope I'm not getting blocked. But we're not a charity. We're not a non-for-profit. Neither are you. If you're in B2B sales, if you're in B2B tech or SaaS or education, you're not a charity, right? And of course, we want to help and support and advise our buyers. But at the same time, our goal is to increase our value, our revenue, our closing rate. And the way to increase our value that we can bring to the table, to the buyer, is by closing more deals, by helping more people and getting paid for it, right? So it has nothing to do with being a charity. It has everything to do with being focused on your goals, focused on sales, but with the buyer in mind, right? Because ultimately the buyer always makes the decision, right? It's rarely that we sell something. 99% of the time, probably even 100, it's the buyer that make the decision to buy from us, to buy from you. And our job is to facilitate that decision, to facilitate that trust in our brand, in our solution, in our business as a vendor, to add that value to the buyer, to their organization. That's our job, right? And we can do that in sales. We can do that in combination with marketing, sales and marketing together. And in our discovery calls and in our demos, if we book demos, or maybe you have consultation calls, or maybe you have discovery calls and then move them to closed one immediately. It really doesn't matter. But what matters is that we understand the buyer and we understand how we can gather enough information and enough intelligence about their situation that helps us help them buy from us. Don't ask me to repeat that again. It's a brain twister, but we help the buyer buy from us. And we can do that with a sales script, and we can do that perfectly and neatly with the probing sales framework, which is based and was developed by us over the past 25 years, with all of that in mind, with having adapted to how buyers buy, the purchasing behavior, the way digital has transformed the way buyers buy, and how we can help them in their process. Thanks for joining, Marek. Is that M? Marek? It's Marek. So that's that. To wrap this up, we are, what are we, 25 minutes in, something like that. I am definitely an advocate of having and using a sales script in a way that doesn't feel robotic. And we integrated that neatly, I would say, in the probing sales framework. And the probing sales framework is expansive in such that you get an understanding of how buyers buy today and how you can facilitate that purchasing decision throughout, the sales cycle, throughout the buy cycle. It's rarely in B2B enterprise sales that we have an immediate decision, right? So we need to utilize the probing sales framework when we talk to our buyer, when we talk to our champion, but also the hidden veto stakeholders, people that could sabotage a deal that we are not aware of. So we can use the probing sales framework in all of these situations and minimize the sales cycle, because we facilitate the purchase process on the buy side by understanding how they tick, what makes them tick, what criteria they use to make a decision, how they made decisions in the past, and what we can do to facilitate that decision to buy from us and not our competitor. So we want ultimately to lead the conversation where we need it to be. We don't want it to feel like an interrogation. And with a sales script that is based on the probing sales framework, you will never feel like your discovery calls are an interrogation or an investigation, because we show you how you can make a conversation flow, how you can build rapport within the first 30 seconds of your call, how you can really work together with your champion or with your buyer on the other side. And I think that's what it's all about, right? We all want sales. We all want value that we can get, but also value that we can provide. So that's it for today. I'm an advocate of using sales scripts as a guideline, as a treasure map of where you want your buyer, your prospects to go in that conversation, and then close it with the next step. So I'm going to leave that open, leave the live stream a little bit longer so we can discuss any questions that you might have in regards to sales scripts, in regards to sales conversations, how to structure a sales conversation, how to not structure a sales conversation. So we are here on TikTok, and we're here on LinkedIn. Actually, we're everywhere. We are on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. What else? Twitch. Yes, I'm on Twitch. There you go. So that's it for today. Any other questions for today? There was a lot to take in, I think. And also a controversial topic, a lot of sales pros that I talk to, especially sales traditionalists, say that I don't need a sales script. I close them without a sales script. Well, good for you. Good for you. Do you want to know what you would be closing more if you did things differently? That's always the question, right? What could we do more if we did things differently? Perfect. Any further questions? Just drop it in the comment. Don't forget to follow. Don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn and subscribe. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Like and subscribe on TikTok. And I'll be posting the conversation wheel on TikTok because that did not go on TikTok. So I'll walk you through it maybe this afternoon or tomorrow. Good. 28 minutes in. That's it for today. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you had a great lunch break. Tomorrow, same time, 12 o'clock, UK, Sales Nation lunch break. See you then. Have a good day.